Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Film Club Podcast, where every month we deep dive into different aspects of cinema, directors, genres, actors, or franchises. It doesn't matter, because it's always fun at the Film Club. I'm Dean.
I'm Becky.
And this month we are going through a character as old and dear as time itself. We're talking about Nosferatu the Vampyre. We're talking about Count Orlok or Count Dracula in other films.
Whatever you prefer.
And today we'll be talking about,
oddly enough, Nosferatu the Vampyre.
Nosferatu the Vampyre, directed by Werner Herzog, coming out in 1979. This is the most popular remake of Nosferatu as of 2024. And this is the film directed by Werner Herzog, who is a director that I have a lot of love for. I think he is one of the great directors.
You love this man so much.
He's hilarious. But he's also a director that kind of has done everything. He's directed on every continent. He has done documentaries. He's done fiction films. He's been nominated for Oscars. He's done pretty much everything a good director can do, including remakes, which is this movie. Now, I'm curious, have you ever seen this movie before?
Well, I mean, that's kind of a
loaded question.
A ridiculous question, because you saw it with me the first time that I ever watched it at Reggie's movie party.
Exactly. Yes, our a previous guest of the show, Mr. Reggie, he shows this movie kind of on the regular. Mm-hmm. It's one of his favorite films. And how we watched it together, we were cuddled up on one of the lawn chairs.
Which we shouldn't have been. We did not fit in that chair.
We did not. It was not even fucking close.
We were in fear of the chair breaking. And we were so crammed into that chair, we were sore We were sore for days because we are old and not as young as we used to be, and even chairs hurt now.
Correct. And it also didn't help that the music, the beautiful music of this movie, was drowned out by some very strong mariachi music from the neighbors.
It was banda music.
Banda music.
So it was a very interesting experience watching it for the first time with banda playing in the background, and then we watched the German version of this. So
yes.
It was like, okay, so we got some German dialogue, we got banda, and we're trying not to make fools out of ourselves by falling through this chair in the backyard. Yeah.
Yeah, which is funny that we watched the German version, because there's two official versions. There's an English version and a German version.
He held a vote. People voted for German, so I was like, all right.
Which is funny because I'm 95% sure the film was shot in English and then dubbed in German.
Yes, I watched it in English last night, and I'm like, I looked and I'm like, oh no, they're speaking English. It's not,
the dub in English.
Yeah, I'm like, no, this was shot in English. I'm like, all right, cool.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I don't feel weird watching a German film in English, which is also weird, but I digress. But yeah, so Nosferatu the Vampyre is a movie that I think I saw for the first time on a plane, of all things. I watched this going to Florida. Yes.
I remember that dark time.
Yeah, I go to Florida and I'm like, I'm going to download a couple movies onto like my phone. And Werner Herzog would love the fact I watched his film
on a phone,
on my cell phone, on a fucking 4-hour plane ride. But yeah, watched it on my phone, and I'm not going to lie, watching it on my phone probably didn't make me think the best of the movie. Mm-hmm. Because this was a movie that I saw that one time on my phone, and then I saw in Reggie's backyard, and I'm like, yeah, maybe this is a Herzog movie, not for me. Like, I don't know. Like, is this a good movie? Like, I don't get it. And then we watched it for the podcast. The first time I ever got to watch it sitting down in a normal chair on like a nice sized television with the lights off.
Where with every exhale, you don't have to worry about, my God, I'm going to breathe too hard and I'm going to break through that chair and everyone's going to laugh at us.
Exactly. And I'm just going to say it. I kind of love this movie. This movie kind of rules.
And we're going to get to my thoughts on the movie. I'm sorry, Reggie. I'm so sorry. Didn't do it for me, dog.
Didn't? No.
I'm sorry, big dog. Just didn't do it for me.
Okay. So this is interesting because we did Nosferatu, the Murnau film last week, right? Both love the movie.
Yes.
Big fans. we're going to do another Nosferatu next week. People can guess what that is.
Spoilers.
I know, right? But, well, spoiler for that one. We both enjoyed that one. This might be the only one we actually differ on. And I'm curious why you dislike it. I know why I like it, honestly.
Because it's Herzog and it's art and you're just...
pretentious as hell.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it, but it's less mean when you say it.
It's what I do. But no, I have reasons like outside of my own pretensions of it. Mean, like legit reasons in the movie that I like it.
I mean, I could give it its accolades, you know, how small the cast and crew was, all the work they put in, you know, this dedication to doing it. Totally understand. For me, one of the biggest issues was it looks like it was shot in the 70s. It looks like the 70s.
Really?
To me, I don't feel like I'm being transported back in time. I don't want to give spoilers to our next episode, but with this movie, it feels like we are in like 1975, even though it's 79.
Really?
Yes, I'm able to see that it looks more 70s than it does 1800s.
Oh, okay, because that's an interesting thing that we'll get into about the movie, because for me, I thought the production design on this was like so good. I loved all the costumes. I loved how it almost felt like how the camera was somebody took like a 16 millimeter camera back to like 1838 or whatever.
No, I didn't see it.
No?
No, I saw what decade they were in.
Really? I don't know how you did that.
Because I don't know. I mean,
was there something
I work behind a camera, and you do not like to touch a camera at all, so
it hurts me. But I'm just curious, what was it that put you off of it? Because I mean, when he's going in through the pass and he's going through like that by the waterfalls and he's going through the village or whatever, that feels like very like old and like really anachronistic. Is there something that just didn't look right?
You can cheat it with that, where you're shooting nature and there's nothing there. You know, that can give the illusion of, hey, this is a different time, a different era. But no, I mean, in the house, it's like you could kind of tell this is the 70s, and I mean, it's shot in Amsterdam?
I believe so. I think they tried to film it in like Transylvania, Romania, or something like that, and they couldn't. And I think parts of it are filmed in like straight up Germany.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that they film is trying to be as close to one for one as the original Nosferatu, but this movie has a whole weird production thing around it itself, and we'll get into that. But I'm still curious on this. So your hang up is that it didn't pull you in and like transport you?
No.
That's so fascinating because I got pulled right in.
Well, it's typical. It's Herzog.
I know it's Herzog.
It's, you know, he laid out the cheese for you and you took the bait.
Okay, well, the opening of the movie, how it opens, definitely pulled me right in, where we open across like all the mummies of like these ancient like bodies or whatever. Like that had to have been like, oh, this is fucking weird. That's like real shit. And now we're like gonna go into this whole vampire thing, and like that didn't pull you in as like,
no.
Oh wow,
no, I was missing Happy Hutter.
I
was just talking crap about him, but I was kind of like, you know what? Happy Hutter hopping out of bed, and I'm going to go cut my new wife some roses or flowers from the garden. I was like, I'm kind of missing him right now.
Okay, because this guy, this Harker, because
we're going back now.
Yeah, okay, like actually that's a thing, because we talked about it last week. Nosferatu, Symphony of the Night by Murnau was a illegal adaptation of Dracula, because Dracula's wife, or Bram Stoker's wife Florence, still owned the copyright to Dracula.
Orlok was a rebel.
Orlok was in fact a rebel. So the only way that movie could, like, they tried to get around it by changing some names in the title and da. And then Florence like sued them, rightfully so, because they just stole the whole thing of Dracula. That movie was going to get destroyed. It was gone. Whatever. Werner Herzog is of the distinctive belief that Nosferatu by Murnau is the greatest German film ever made. That's his belief. And he waited until, I think, the day that Dracula hit public domain, that it wasn't under copyright anymore. And then he said, perfect, now I can make the proper German Dracula adaptation.
Yeah.
And that's what this is to him. So there's no Count Orlok in this. It's actual Count Dracula.
Yes.
There's no Hutter. It's actually Harker.
We have Renfield.
We have Renfield. We have Lucy. We have the whole 9 yards. All the real names, all the real characters are in this movie. But he still is like, well, Nosferatu is still like the German interpretation of Dracula. So it's a real Dracula story, but it takes heavy influence and homage to from Nosferatu, which is why Count Dracula in this looks like Max Schreck's Nosferatu or Count Orlok.
But not as good.
We're gonna get into that because there's something about Kinski's Dracula that I think is valid. It's good, but it's different.
I figured out what he looks like to me. Finally.
Yes.
I finally figured it out. I don't know if you'll see it after.
Your brother.
No.
Damn, had to try.
Not your brother either.
All
We're
right.
just be throwing brothers under the bus here.
I do call my brother like fucking Nosferatu sometimes.
No, like on the real. Dean calls Randy Nosferatu so much. But I mean, it's like legit funny. I mean, not that he looks like Nosferatu. It's just he likes to stand over you while you sleep.
He doesn't like stand over me while I sleep, but he has like gone into my room to grab shit, and I'll wake up and he's at the foot of my bed like grabbing something, and I'm like, there's this just 6'6" sons of a bitch in my room, and it's just cast in shadow, and I'm like, oh god, the fucking sleep demons have come. It's over. But yes.
So every now and then, Dean will, wake up mid-sleep screaming Nosferatu, Nosferatu, and no one bats an eye anymore because they know, oh, he's just seeing things. He's okay. It's a shadow.
I'm not that insane, but we're going to get into that because, again...
We'll get into character design.
We'll get into character design and the character interpretations and whatnot because I like Kinski as Dracula. And I'm just interested... It's interesting how we're probably going to be on the opposite end of the spectrum on this entire film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't had one of these in a long time.
It's been a minute. It
has been.
And on that, like, the plot of the movie is the same as all plots of Dracula and Nosferatu and whatnot. Real estate agent gets sent to fucking the Carpathian Mountains to sell a house to an old count.
Just when you thought real estate was the business to get into. Apparently not.
Apparently fucking not. Apparently not. But there are things that are different from the original Nosferatu film.
There's 2 kittens in this movie.
There are 2 kittens in this movie. There's plenty of kittens. There's a lot more rats. And also, we begin the movie with Lucy, who is our Ellen character from Nosferatu, who was Mina in the books and whatever. But Lucy here, played by Isabella Adjani, I think.
I believe so.
Great actress. She was in Possession. She begins the movie as psychic.
Yes.
Which, in the 22 version, we don't find out she's psychic until like halfway through the movie. Yes.
Yeah, it's a while. Because I mean, she's connected to her husband, and in this one, she's connected to Orlok.
And there's a much more distinctive, like, attraction and desire between the two in this one.
It's changed from just Orlok being like, I'm about to implode your world, and I'm going to take your girl on top of it. It's kind of like, oh no, I'm drawn to you.
Yes. And I think that's an interesting thing that this movie does that Murnau's doesn't. Because, we're going to get into what's the story of all these movies. Because it's the same plot. It's, the same, like, words on the page or whatever. But how you interpret them and how you craft them into your film is what makes them unique for the time and the setting and all this other stuff for the context. And I think it's interesting that this film is far more, like, almost, like, charged. Like sexually and emotionally and all that stuff.
It's also the 70s.
It's also the 70s. It's Germany in the 70s. And the key thing...
Amsterdam, too.
Amsterdam. And the thing about this that really, like, works for me, is Kinski's Dracula. Right? Now, we can get into design and how it's so heavily inspired by Shrek. They're giving him the same bald cap, the ears, the teeth, which the teeth are not doing him any favors. I give you that.
No.
But what he does bring to this is an incredible sadness to the character.
I don't need sad. I need Orlok on a mission.
Really?
Because, I mean, he also makes a lot of, like, whimpering noises, too. And it's just like, no, I should be afraid of you, not, like, oh, what happened to him? Because he's just kind of like, and I'm like, what are you doing?
That is okay. Because don't get me wrong.
I want to be thrilled. I want to be scared. I want to be,
There's parts where when he's walking out of the fucking, like, down that fucking hallway and it's that blue tint as the shadow, he's creepy as fuck. He is so, like, unnervingly creepy. Okay, look. Maybe, sure, he doesn't scare you. He creeps me out. But again, like, the emotional resonance that they're trying to do in this, where Kinski is really trying to embody the whole, like, I am so lonely, I have lived forever. The line in the movie is, sometimes death isn't so bad. When you live forever, eventually all you'll want is death.
And it's like, bro, just step out into the sun then.
Again, see, like, that's the thing that, like, makes it, like, complicated and compelling, right? Because he's like, does he know stepping in the sun will kill him?
Well, I mean, I think you'd have to know. Otherwise, first day of being a vampire. Oh, look at that beautiful sun. And then he melted. He's got to know that the sun is his, his enemy.
I guess, but, like, again, I just...
And we have Bella, who mentions death, death to be really dead. What beauty. And it's just like, see, he gets it, but it's like, it's hot when he says it.
I see. Kinski is not attractive for you. It's not hot.
No.
But again, like, the thing that I get it, right? He is not your Dracula. He's not your Nosferatu.
He's not.
But I think he's compelling. Like, those big fucking eyes he's got that are, like, sunk in with the makeup, and when he's staring just, like, straight down the barrel of the camera is creepy. And when he starts talking about how he regrets his immortality and how he wishes for more, like, that doesn't resonate with you? She takes a sip of her water before she tears me the fuck down.
My heart belongs to other vampires. I'm sorry. You can have this one. It's okay.
All right, I see.
You could have Klaus Kinski.
Well,
you're the one over here, really batting for him.
Look, he was very likely the guy was a fucking awful human being, but he's a damn, like, engaging actor. I don't need no fucking Klaus Kinski. But yeah, I'm just saying.
My heart belongs to the Hungarian hunk, Max Schreck, Edward. I'm sorry.
I see.
Bill Skarsgård. I'm sorry.
I see. But I'm just saying. I think he's a very good Dracula for the movie that they're trying to make here. All right. Now we'll get into like what the story is and whatnot. But there are some stuff we should probably talk about, right? Like the plot of said movie.
Or maybe like the best scene of the movie.
The best scene of the movie? Is it when it's the two kittens playing on the mantle?
That was very close. That almost took my number one spot. But it had to have been when he was getting ready to go up to the pass, and he's talking, he's like, "Sir, can I please, borrow your carriage?" As he's shining his carriage. "I don't have a carriage. Please, can I borrow one of your horses?"
Can't you see it? I have no horses.
Pats the horse. "I don't have horses." And he's just like, "Well, I guess I'm going to walk down." And the guy's just like, "I'm going to continue to brush my imaginary horse's hair as you walk away to your death." Yep. Greatest scene.
Great scene. Well, actually, that gets into something perfect, right? Because the opening of the movie is the same across, like, the original, right? Renfield tells him to go off, and this Renfield is the same gidding madman as in Nosferatu, and yada, yada, yada. But where it breaks apart is how the villagers treat him, right? Because when he shows up and he says, "Oh, I'm going up to the Orloc's castle."
And then everyone drops their plates immediately.
Everyone drops their plates.
Even the goose is like, "The fuck? You're going where?"
Yes. And the villagers in Murnaus were scared of the Count, but they were willing to help Hutter.
Yeah.
In this interpretation, the villagers are scared of the Count, and they're unwilling to help Harker. And I think that goes into something interesting, is they know Harker is going to do this, and they will not help him. They have no interest in being a part of this. They're isolating themselves, and they're like, whatever happens, happens. As long as we in this little village aren't a part of it, it should be okay. And I think that's going to key into what the movie's about a little bit. The the story that makes this different than
The original.
The original is, I think this is more about like the natural existence of like evil and how like the force of like just that abstract concept of evil it will be, and it will go on, and it will infect like a disease,
Mhm.
you know, which might be Herzog's commenting on like, you know, World War II or whatever, where, you know, the banality of, you know, people like when good men do nothing, evil will prevail.
Vietnam, because this is in the 70s.
This is in the 70s. Yeah, that it's basically like that, right? All Nosferatu is about war, but with this,
Isn't Orlok's name War? I think that's the translation of it. It's War.
I don't know. I don't speak any language other than English, and I don't speak English all too well.
Are you okay?
Yeah, give me a quote. Give me a quote.
I know I saw it somewhere.
You look that up, and let's keep getting on. So we finally have like that, right?
Mhm.
Where the villagers don't treat him the same way as in the other one. So it keys us off. Okay, this is different, right?
Yeah.
Lucy is now immediately attached to Orlok at the
Mhm.
beginning. Like, she is a seer of what will come, right? And once we finally get to the castle, right? And I get it, you don't like Kinski as Dracula, but you gotta admit, like, when he is in the room, when Harker finally gets to the castle, and it's him and it's Dracula, and he cuts his thumb, and how this version of Dracula is so melancholy and sad until he sees the blood, and then he just marches him down. That's a good scene. That's a creepy fucking scene.
Again, But I did find it because, you know, like you were talking about, the first movie's about basically the First World War.
Yeah, in my interpretation.
Orlok, I guess, I'm quoting the internet. I don't know how valid this is, but I have seen it a couple places. In Dutch, it means war.
It tracks.
So
I know
there
things.
you go.
I drink and I know things. But yes.
We're just pulling out all the nerd cards today.
All of it. But again, like,
I miss Game of Thrones.
when it was good.
When it was good.
But yeah, but you gotta admit, come on, like, when you see him in the first meeting of Kinski as Dracula and Harker,
No,
it doesn't.
It doesn't. There's only one time that I find him believable,
Mhm.
and it's at the very end.
Really?
When he dies.
Okay.
That's the only time I'm a little put off by him and believing in his shtick. I'm like, okay. But the rest, no.
I find that fascinating.
No, you don't. You want to pick me up and throw me out of the room.
I would never, but it's crossing my mind. I'm just saying, like, I really get, like, I can get behind Kinski's Dracula. I think he's giving a great performance of the sad, melancholy vampire, of getting into the whole thing of what's the saddest part about being immortal, and it's the reality of being immortal.
Yeah.
You know, where eventually you'll just want it to all stop. And he's just so, like, fucking sad boy about it.
Yeah.
But it's like a relatable human thing that I can get behind.
And I love me a sad boy. I mean, granted, I'm with, you know, Walking Sunshine, but...
I mean, hey.
But it's just, no, it just wasn't, you know, wasn't doing it for me.
Interesting. Fucking interesting. Because I thought I'm not going to lie. Herzog has a very distinctive style of, you know, making his movies. You know, there's a lot of handhelds. He's trying to go to an aesthetic of, you know, his aesthetic is, the best way I can describe it is, he builds a world that we can exist in, and then he's going in there like a documentarian, just absorbing the story. Because there's a lot of handheld. Yeah. You know, the way it's shot is, you know, I think it's very beautiful, but it's a lot of long takes, and it's a lot of people just like existing in the space and going and doing their lines and stuff like that. You know, I thought, okay, maybe you're not going to like that. It's not a very energetic style, right? For this film, it's a very, you know, slower pace kind of movie. Yeah. But I thought you would get behind, like, Dracula or Kinski. I thought that would get you. Like, some of the characters. None of them? No. I'm flabbergasted. I'm flabbergasted.
You're not that flabbergasted.
Flabbergasted. But,
I mean, I liked Herzog in The Mandalorian. I would like to see the baby.
Werner Herzog.
He was in The Mandalorian. He was in the first season.
He was also in Parks and Rec.
He was.
But Yes.
Great shows.
Great shows. But I'm just saying, I'm just so fascinated that this movie didn't click with you like at all.
No.
Is it only in the ending that you were like, oh, okay, there's something cooking here?
Yeah, and I mean, the scene where the bat's climbing up the side of her bed, that freaked me out too. I was like, that's a little, I'd be running out of that room if I saw that. But yeah, just the ending where he dies. I'm like, oh, okay, this is a little creepy, a little animalistic. It's not human.
Let's talk about the ending then, right? Because, the plot of the movie's very, like, it's Dracula. It's Nosferatu.
It's, if you listen to Nosferatu last week and got some of the beats from that, he's going to die in the end.
Yeah. But, like, let's talk about that because, again, in my opinion, the movie is, for a lot of it is, like, it's the same from one to the other.
Mm-hmm.
And the differences here is a lot of, like, aesthetics and, like, detail stuff that's, like, really hard to communicate with people over a podcast. You kind of have to watch the movie to really understand the nuance here.
Yeah.
But the ending of it, right? The ending, Kinski does go for more animal, like when the sun comes up and his eyes go white and he has like almost a seizure and he starts like convulsing, and it's very like, he's almost like an animal, like backed up into a corner, and he's starting to like freak the fuck out.
He looks like a snake.
Yes.
It's probably the eyes, but also the movements. He looks like a snake that is about to die, but still kind of, trying to fight, kind of.
It's like a snake that's dying because it bit a live wire. Like it's being shocked with like electricity.
So, I mean, that was enough to be like, oh God, I would not want to be in the same room with that. I'm like, this is uncomfortable. But no, I think that's, the most jarring that he leaves me is that scene.
I mean, okay. I can get that because the ending of the movie is very much the nose for like him dying.
Yeah.
Is so different than the previous version we saw.
Well, yeah, because I mean, we have him die from the sunlight exposure, but then we also have Van Helsing in this movie because, we're going back to our Dracula ties.
Yeah, and this is a much more flashed out Dracula film than Nosferatu.
And Van Helsing is like, no, we gotta still stake him. We, the sun killed him, but we just have to be 100% sure he's dead.
Yes.
So it's like, okay, so we're starting to pull from, other Dracula movies that we have. So it's like, okay, so it's a bit of a double death that he suffers in this movie.
Well, it's a thing where he's like, oh, he's already dead from the sunlight, and it's like, well, we still gotta like desecrate his body, even in death, we must ensure he will never come back.
Yeah.
Which goes into the other changes about the end of this movie. Because there's, the whole thing where the changes in this movie, like, broadly, is Lucy is far more connected to Orlok or Dracula than in the previous versions. There's a much more like a sexual tension, like a desire between them that Lucy is resistant of, but Dracula is all in on.
And you have Harker that is in transition.
Yes, and Harker manages to make it back, and he is like deathly ill, and it's obvious that he is transitioning into a vampire.
And how nobody notices, man, he's getting more pale and talking a little funny. I don't know. I think it's just from his travels, and it's like, dude's a vampire.
You would know this if you read the literature.
If you had read the little book.
But that's the thing, like the ending of the movie, right? And that's the other change that culminates from Lucy's attraction to, or the attraction element that's going on with Dracula and Lucy in Harker's transition, right? Because those are both different from the 22 version.
Yeah.
The attraction element is when Dracula bites Lucy, it has that sexual charge element to it. That's coming through the performance, right? And
but I think it's just the noise that he makes when he's sucking her blood. It's like, yeah.
Like, you think sucking blood would sound sexy? No, it probably sounds fucking gross.
And it does.
Yes, but when Dracula dies and Van Helsing stakes him, Harker does the full transformation and accuses Helsing of killing the Count and all this other stuff, and Helsing is taken away. And Harker is now transformed into a vampire. And he takes the horse and he rides off into the dunes or whatever, just to like go off into another land to bring destruction, right? Because in this movie there's plague that comes, the Dracula brings the plague ships and it infects this town, and we get probably like the best scene of the fucking movie where she's
walking through the square.
It's so fucking good.
I will agree with you that is, for me, the best scene of the movie, when she's just walking and it's rats and there's, coffins and stuff's on fire, and then you have the dinner party.
Yes, there's all the townspeople that are almost like dancing around and celebrating amongst all the death, and then there's that whole thing where it's like, oh, we have all been infected by the plague and this is our last supper, please join us, Lucy. And they're trying to have the fucking like big family meal surrounded by plague rats, and they're all dying. It's these people who just resign themselves to their fate. Right? The world is coming to hell. Yeah. We are all bound for death, and we have resigned ourselves to our fate, so why not eat?
That scene reminded me so much of when people were having the super spreader parties.
Yes.
And they were like, well, we're all
going to get COVID. Yeah, might as well, get it early.
Have a good time. And it's just like, no, you're making the problem worse. It's like, just stay in your house. That's it. Stay home. No, we got to, we're going to die with our tuxedos and our fancy dresses on because it's going to happen.
What is it? The evil exists as a natural force. Why fight it? Just accept that it is and move on.
And Mina's like, no, fam, I think I have this figured out. Just give me some time and I will handle this. And they're like, no. I'm going to have my smoked ham and die on the curb. And it's just like, Mina's like, I literally just have to lure him to my room tonight and then it's over. That's it.
Look, this sequence, right? This sequence of the film, this is the reason this movie exists, because it's fucking beautiful. It has the music and everything. And I think that's a good way to put it, right? Lucy has the answer. She knows what she's going to do. She knows how she's going to save everybody, but no one cares. Yeah. Because they've all kind of given up. Is that the point here? Is everyone in this scene, like all the townspeople have just like, we've given up. The plague is here. It has killed us all. We're already infected. C'est la vie. Let it be.
Yeah.
Is that what the movie's like getting at?
Pretty much. I mean, when all hope's gone, what do? And the majority of the people just gave into it. Versus Lucy, where it's like, look, I've been connected to this dude since the beginning. I'm going to resolve this. Whether I come out of this dead or alive, I need to help save the world.
And then that goes into the other change, right?
Yes.
Where she sacrifices herself. Dracula is dead. He's been, killed by the sunlight and staked. He's double dead. Double dead. But still the evil continues because Harker is now transformed into a vampire. And now he has been let loose upon the world.
And I love how simple it is, where he's had this ring of like protection salt around him to keep him in this chair. And then, when everyone...
He demands the maid to go, dust this off, get this away.
Yeah, could you please, sweep this up? And then, yeet, I'm out of the house. And it's just like, that easy.
That easy.
Just that easy. Dude's, practically glowing in that corner around this protection circle. And it's like, maybe I shouldn't sweep this up. This doesn't look good.
Yes. And again, it's a thing where it's kind of funny. And
yeah.
The other layer to that is the ignorance of it all, right? Where it's just like, well, yeah, he's over there, but like, I'll just dust it up. It's whatever. And you unknowingly just let a vampire loose into the world. But again, that's a thing where the ending is completely changed, right? And that's where it gets into my interpretation of my idea that this is about that abstract evil, the banality of evil, and how people in a society can just kind of have evil exist and just let it be because they don't do anything. Lucy tries to do something and she succeeds in defeating this evil, but that evil just moves on to a new host and continues on, right? It almost makes the thing where it's like the inherent evil of humanity just exists and will continue and infect others like a plague.
Just like the plague.
Just like the plague, right?
It'll just jump from person to person until everyone's dead.
and you either try and fight it like Lucy,
Mm-hmm.
or you accept it like the townspeople and just say, this is the world we live in.
And we're just gonna roll on our back and, wait for death to take us. And it's just like, again, just go into your house, close the windows, don't let the rats in.
Watch a couple seasons of The Office, wait till them to reopen in like 2 years, and you'll be fine.
Uber Eats, wipe down your groceries. Just be careful.
2 weeks to slow the spread, and you'll be fine.
God, I can't believe that's been 5 years.
Yes. I people are probably like really annoyed about like we still talk about the pandemic, but for this it's like really relevant. Like that's
it's. I mean, especially for 22, because it, watching it and how it coincides with the Spanish influenza, it was just so many of the same coincidences that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's another epidemic that happens in this movie. It's just, it was a plague versus an illness.
Yeah.
Even though the plague brought on, illness, but it's just, we didn't have, rats in the street and no coffins and stuff were on fire. People were dancing. We didn't quite hit that level of just, what the fuck happened?
Yeah.
We were just going stir crazy in our homes.
Exactly. We didn't have like millions of rats running across the foyer, ruining our good time. But it is what it is. So, but yeah, like the ending of it is changed, right? And I just like my interpretation of it, I'm wondering yours, even if you don't like the movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's distinctly different than the 22 version.
Oh yeah, it's different. It's just, now that I've seen all 3 of the movies, and I'm not going to give out, my preference chart.
Yeah, your obvious preference chart that no one could possibly guess.
No one could possibly guess. But yeah, I'm still going to hold, with the tried and true of 22. Because that feels the most vampire.
Look, no, I get that. My question is the differences between them. My thinking is like the story of this one is like the banality of evil, and it just exists and moves on, And World War I for 22. My question is, why do you think the story has been changed from one to the other? Or do you think that the story is about like this banality of evil, or is it something else?
It's still the banality of evil, but it's also a different time. So, I mean, I was shocked by how affectionate Hutter and Ellen were in the 22 version, because I'm, thinking of like back then with, the coding and everything. So I'm like, wow, they're actually being affectionate. Shouldn't that be like a no-no for that time? But this movie, we've changed. It's the 70s. So it's like, yeah, we can, kind of approach this sensual feeling with the bad guy, even though we shouldn't. And that kind of goes with this evil and forbidden kind of, tones that are in the movie. So it's like, I think it's a sign of the times, but we're still touching on stuff from the past.
Okay, I see where you're getting at. I'm looking at this movie and I have a lot of respect for it, and I think it's like very, very good. And I'm just, again, it's fascinating that this movie just did kind of nothing for you.
Again, I appreciate Herzog and the people that made this movie a movie, because I think, what was his budget? It was like,
it was fucking nothing.
Yeah,
so maybe like $1 million.
Yeah, it was a very small budget and such a small crew of people. Have to totally give them their, their
flowers.
Yeah, give them their flowers for all the work that they put in to create this. Just wasn't for me.
Which is interesting because it was a hit.
Yeah,
it was a pretty moderate box office hit. It was a critical success. People dug it.
Was Roger Ebert called it like a perfect remake, or yeah. So it's like I saw that people really loved it. It's just, I don't know. It just didn't really do anything for me.
Is it your inherent hatred of remakes? Is that what did it?
No. I mean, if you're gonna do a remake, really wow me. But this is during a time where we didn't really have this too much like we do now, where it's just an issue of, hey, this movie that everyone loves, I'm going to remake it. Hey, you know what? I'm going to remake that one. It's like, no, at this point, it's just we've completely run out of ideas.
I mean, yeah, because this was like, 50 years in between remakes, and now we're having remakes where I'm like, guys, I was like a senior in high school when this came out, and that was a long time ago, but it wasn't that long ago.
Exactly. So to have Herzog want to remake a film that was a silent film, it's like, okay, that makes sense. I want to see how we can step out of the past and into the future and see if it's better or if it really has no legs to stand on. So it's like, I could totally understand that.
Well, okay, that right there. Is it better? Has no legs to stand on. Is this better than... I'm not even talking about like in preference. I mean just in telling its story. Is it better than 22 version, or does it have legs to stand on, right? Like in terms of like just the story it's trying to tell, is it better than the 22 version?
In my opinion, no.
In your opinion, no. Okay.
I feel like the 22 version is strong enough and it's able to tell me what's happening in the story. And I'm able to follow the story along and know what's happening.
Could you not do that with this one?
You can, but I mean, we start to lean in more with the connection to Orlok, and now Harker's turning into a vampire, and it's like, if Lucy or Mina is your everything, well, why wouldn't you try to turn her, and the two of you guys can be immortal forever?
Okay.
It's just, I'm going to go off on my horse into the sand, and it's just like,
I just love one of the times where I wish we were recording where it's just like you just look so just like fuck this movie, Dean.
No,
there's nothing here.
I'm okay.
It's fine.
No, we have those episodes where I'm just like I cannot I cannot get any steam. No, this one is like no, I'm laying out the things that just don't cut it for me. I understand why you love it. It's a lot of art films that you love that they go right over my head. So it's like, yeah, I knew that this was going to be everything to you.
It's not my everything, all right? Again, I think it's a good movie. It's a thing where it's like, I think it's a good movie, and it's not just because it's Herzog, and I like Herzog, I really like Fitzcarraldo, and Aguirre, and all these other, Grizzly Man, and I like his movies. But I think legitimately the story it's telling is very intriguing. It's the story of a vampire, of a guy who just has lived forever, and it's the utter misery of immortality and his unbreakable desire for just any connection where he thinks he can get it from Lucy, and he will do anything he can to achieve it. And he brings the plague with him wherever he goes, but he doesn't care because he just wants love at the end of the day, if we can call it that. And I think that's an interesting story.
I bring you love. Oh my God.
Oh my God, shoot him. Simpsons. But that's the thing, is I feel that's the sad melancholy of it all. And I find that interesting and compelling. And also, I don't see how you don't get sucked into this movie, because it looks so good to me. It looks like, man, if you throw a black and white filter on this, it looks like you're taking pictures of like 18 something Germany.
Maybe if I saw it with a filter on it, I'd be more.
It would kick you a little bit and be like, hey, come on, like look at the work they're doing here.
Maybe, but to me, it really looks like something from the 70s.
And
I'm not knocking it, because I do like movies that are from the 70s, but it's not transporting me to another time.
I see. Well, that is Nosferatu das Vampyre.
Yes.
Do you have any other thoughts on it? Because I know I kind of rambled and I was just like attacking you, being like, why don't you fucking love this movie? But
you've gotten better at that. You haven't, thrown a chair at me like you used to in the past.
We cut a lot of chair throwings out of here.
Yeah.
Man. That one time you pulled a gun on me. Oh, Jesus.
I mean, it was a water gun, but
But yeah, but I am curious. Is there anything about this movie that you wanted to talk about, that, or just like a comment you wanted to make? Do you recommend this movie? Is there a type of person you think would like this?
Film people. I know film people would, love this and appreciate it for the things that maybe I'm failing to see or I can't see. Also, if you're a vampire enthusiast, give it a watch. If you're a Nosferatu fan, a new one of the new film, go back and watch the predecessors. See how we got from, I'm going to say point C to, point A, the original, where we've, the true Nosferatu, and then this one, the remake, and now the remake.
Yes.
So it's like, there is a crowd for this. It's just not my cup of tea. But not to say that there isn't, a big fan base that loves this movie, because there is.
I mean, yeah, like the movie is like loved and beloved or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even Robert Eggers, who like made the most recent Nosferatu, he looks at this as like, guys, like fucking yeah, of course I've seen this movie like 100 times. Like this movie's kind of goated for me. Like it's influencing like the modern Nosferatus. It's a movie that is very, I don't know how popular it is in the Herzog canon. I'd imagine people really like this. I mean, like it.
You're the Herzog guy, so I don't know where this would stand. Just like, people are going nuts over the new Nosferatu, but they're also in the same vein of, well, it's not his best film.
Yeah.
Which is so shocking.
You really need to watch the rest of his movies. But again, like for Herzog, my favorite is probably going to still be Fitzcarraldo for a lot of reasons. But again, like I thought this was a lesser Herzog for a long time because all the viewing experiences I had with it were not great. And then when I finally just turned the lights off, put it on the TV and watched it at my house, I kind of fell in love with this movie. Like it's a movie that kind of grew on me. And I really think that if you gave it another shot, you might like it more in a second viewing.
I mean, it's not in the one and done pile. This is technically my second viewing of this. I mean, the party was different because it was a party, so it's like,
we're having wings and walking around.
Yeah, you're talking to people and you're kind of catching things here and there. So yesterday was my first, viewing of it, with no interruptions, and it was just kind of, I don't know if because the original Nosferatu's been part of my life a lot longer.
Yes, a whole 2 years longer.
Well, no, in the canon of Max Schreck's Nosferatu has been a part of pop culture everywhere.
Oh, okay. Like the iconography of the 22 one is just more relevant to you.
To me, yes, because that's what I grew up with, seeing him wherever, printed on whatever, and not really being associated with the Herzog one.
Is that something that keys in for you a lot of how you bring a lot of how you interpret movies? If a movie has more just pop cultural ripple effects or more relevance, it resonates with you much easier than if it's a movie that's just completely cold.
I guess. I mean, it's also preference too. I mean, someone says Spider-Man and I think Tobey Maguire.
Okay.
Even though it's I love Tom Holland and I love, Andrew Garfield, but it's just, that's my Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And it's with this where, they say Nosferatu, I think of Max Schreck.
And there's always that unconscious barrier.
Same thing as Dracula. I think of Bela Lugosi.
I see.
Even though there's, Dracula's been portrayed hundreds of times in different,
different studios, different eras. There's
different channels.
Lee.
Yeah. And it's just I think maybe because I saw him first, that's always going to be my go-to.
It's kind of like the unconscious barrier to entry, right?
Yeah.
Where, you could show me, Christopher Lee's Dracula, and he's a fantastic Dracula. Oh, the best version of Dracula ever. But you'll always have the thing of well, fucking Bela Lugosi's my first, and he's also how you have framed the character of Dracula around. Yeah. So it's kind of a thing where the Nosferatu the Vampyre Herzog's movie really had an uphill battle for you because not only is it we're remaking Nosferatu, so it's you have to get over the Max Schreck of it all.
Yeah.
But it's also being a much more open retelling of Dracula, and him being called Dracula is okay, now you have to leap over both Max Schreck's Count Orlok and also Lugosi's fucking Dracula. So did this movie just have an uphill battle before it even turned on?
A little bit, but I mean, I was trying to give it the benefit of the doubt. I wasn't going in salty on it. I was just, okay, we're going to watch it. Just didn't land for me. But, you never know. Things change. Preferences change. Again, it's not in my one and done pile. I can watch this another time and maybe over time it'll soften a little bit.
I mean, that's why we're going to do Gangs of New York month, where we're just going to watch Gangs of New York every week until you finally like that movie.
My body is physically letting go. No Gangs of New York, please.
Yes, Gangs of New York, famously our worst episode that's ever been released. Is that our worst episode?
Yeah, I don't think there's a dispute on that. I
Yeah.
forgot that we even did it until you brought it up for what was it, like a year in review, or we were talking about something, and I was just like, oh god, I forgot we did that.
Yeah, it's I think, because every year we do like we do our year in review, which everybody go back and watch our year in review of 2024. It's a lot of fun.
It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. But that one, I think for that Gangs of New York one was simply like, what was our worst episode? And you're like, there's no worst episodes. I love all of our episodes. And I told you that when you're like, oh fuck, yeah, no, that was a bad one. That was rough. We just talked about IMDb trivia for like 30 minutes and then closed out the episode.
It was so bad that even my brain made me forget that we recorded that. And it's like, it wasn't entirely a terrible movie.
No, it's not a bad movie.
That's why it's like, there were good things in it, but there was just other things where it was just like, I can't.
You can't.
I can't.
But with Nosferatu the Vampyre, we can. I like it.
Well, you can. You love it. I'm so about it.
But yeah, I guess that does bring us to the end of Nosferatu the Vampyre. We've been talking about it for close to an hour. So, any final thoughts, or do you want to just tell people what we're doing next week?
Next week, the final week, because it's the beginning of the year. We can't, really come in full tilt. We're going to do episodes every week. We needed a break. We had a very busy 2024.
Yes.
So we're coming to end this month with a bang. We're talking about the new Nosferatu 2024, and we have a guest for that episode.
We do. This is the Nosferatu, directed by Robert Eggers, one of my favorite directors. I think we talked about him with this guest last time.
I believe so.
Yes, but we are going to have a guest on that episode to talk about it. The brand new film, how many times you've all seen it since its release.
Because, I mean, you know, how can we not, start the new year, slow and relaxed and a calm pace? No, we got to talk about one of the biggest movies that just dropped. And I think at the time of this recording, it's been about 5 days since the movie's been released. And I think they already hit 50 million box office.
Something like that. It definitely is. It's being it's one of those box office success movies that's going to get plenty of screen time or plenty of money as long as they just don't pull it from theaters in 2 weeks like they do with everything now.
And we also have the Oscar noms coming out soon. So we'll see if this is able to land anything.
Correct, because I think when we record, we'll know the Oscar noms.
It should be the same day that they're released. So
yeah, so listen out for that. So we'll be able to give you breaking news on that one. That will release a week later, but whatever.
It'll still be interesting.
Yeah. But if you wanted to listen to that, where can they go?
If you want to listen to us on a different platform than you currently are, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube.
That's right. You can go to our YouTube channel, The Film Vault. That is The Film Vault on YouTube, because the Film Club was taken.
Yeah.
Where you can see all the video episodes that we do, and also the slideshow versions when the cameras don't want to work. And you can like, comment, and subscribe there. We are trying our best to get up to, a couple thousand subscribers. We're only at 5 something right now. Let's get up to 1,000. We'll do a bonus episode for you guys.
Yeah, and we'll let you guys pick, like our Home Alone episode. You guys picked that.
Exactly. But if you wanted to know when we hit 1,000 subscribers or what else we're doing, you can go to our social medias at
The Film Club Podcast on Instagram, where we post upcoming episodes, upcoming guests, events we're going to, milestones that we've hit, and random adventures we like to go on.
And with that,
we'll see you next week at the Film Club.
Have a good week, everybody. So what's that beeping noise? One day we're going to let people know what that beeping noise is.
Someday we'll figure that out.
All right, have a good week, everybody.